Hey, so I think I'm going to review some news today. And the song being played right now is Pick Up Sticks by John Kennedy. Primaries are coming up in Maryland on the 14th, I think, of May. Make sure you vote uncommitted in the Democratic primary. No point in voting in the Republican primary. Trump's got that pretty much on lock. Prime Minister Netanyahu addressing the Israeli nation today, from Ian Bremmer on Twitter. So Netanyahu says, if we don't protect ourselves, no one will. We cannot trust the promises of the Gentiles. And Ian says this is staggering on the back of U.S. and allied defense of Israel during the Iranian missile strikes not too long ago, and $17 billion additional U.S. military aid. I guess on that note, Israel has invaded Rafah, where a lot of Gazans were pushed. Like, you can't be here, go here. And now that they're there, they're going to invade them. And so, right now, you've got this terrified civilian population being bombarded, and it's not great, to say the least. Macklemore released a song in support of the Palestinian anti-war, anti-genocide, anti-mass civilian casualties, mass death, whatever you want to call it, in support of that. DJ Khaled hasn't really spoken much about it. According to Ryan Grimm, someone who knows DJ Khaled told him, "You won't hear a single word from Khaled. He's scared shitless." Which I know people can and have complained about that, but I also can see the thing about being scared shitless. But then on the other hand, there's also the thing of like doing something even though it's scary. Like, I think after 9/11, Freeway was criticized for, he's a Muslim rapper, for not speaking up about the discrimination, and he probably also was scared then too. There's a sense to it. You could say it's cowardly, but there's also a sense to it. You know, I mean, Justin Amash just said things. He's not in Congress anymore, though, and he doesn't have a career really in, like, Khaled's a public figure. He's trying to make music that people can listen to, right? Oh, new song came up. This is Thunder Love by Little Dragon. Anyway. Oh, here. Some note. The International Criminal Court said that threatening to retaliate against it is, as it investigates international crimes, may itself be a crime. This is from Prem Thacker on Twitter. He's a guy who talks about the Palestine issue a lot lately. And he has proof here about 12 Republican senators threatening to retaliate against the International Criminal Court. Threatening ICC, International Criminal Court, Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan with severe consequences for him, his family. Sounding like some real gangster shit. Ugly stuff. Hopefully they're prosecuted, because that's the point of prosecuting, is deterrence. And if you don't, then it'll keep happening. Let's see. Saying the N-word does not qualify as fighting words according to the federal government. I had a kid come up to me and asked me, told me, like, this white kid called me the N-word, and I slapped him. And so I basically told him, like, okay, maybe you can do that now, but like, you got to make sure you don't do that when you're an adult. That could be like just entrapment or something, because like I thought, it doesn't protect you. Now there's an argument maybe you should be able to like slap someone or punch them in the gut if they call you a slur, but I don't think the law protects you from that right now. There's a Twitter account called Biden's Wins, and they said that President Biden just secured a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. It is because of President Biden's leadership that this conflict is halting for the time being. And they retracted that because Hamas accepted the terms for a ceasefire, but Israel rejected them. So, whoops. Here's a little thing about degrowth. Someone's asking, how's degrowth been so successful? I mean, it hasn't been that successful. Growth is still GDP growth is still the predominant model, right? But this guy, Politic of Nature, Andrew Ahern, on Twitter, he says there's mountains of empirical evidence showing how you can't have GDP growth and sufficiently decarbonize in time. it's some people say, criticizing degrowth, saying, oh, you're trying to return to some magical past, right? And he says, well, eco-modernist folks are like, yeah, let's return to 1850, back when we had all these supplies and resources that we could use, you know? It's a fair counter argument. New song came up. This is Conan Moccasin, Do I Make You Feel Shy? Oh, here's an interesting take. So this guy says, Joshua P. Hill, read Let This Radicalize You. I guess this is his title on the Twitter. Absolutely nothing should be sold for a profit if its absence can kill you, he says. Quoting a video game, it looks like. Any modern system where people still die from lack of these resources should be dismantled. That's the thing he put out there. This guy named Freeze, the Freeze83, says nothing that requires the labor of others is a human right. To say otherwise is to endorse slavery, which is a fair point. If you want people to have food, medical services, things like that, and if providing those things requires people to work, and people who are able to work don't want to work, then to make them work, you have to force them into it. So the question is, are we okay? It's maybe hyperbolic language, but still, while keeping with that language, are we okay with slavery if it serves helping people and minimizing, suffering, death, blah, blah, blah. There's the whole thing, too, about if you try and force people to do something, then they'll retract and, not do it as much. And you won't get as good results. Here's one. Another one from Andrew Ahern, Politic of Nature. Says eco-socialism cannot just have good politics or policy. It must also develop an ecological sensibility amongst the populace and working class. I'm starting to read Richard Seymour's The Disenchanted Earth that seeks to do just that. It seems interesting to me because a lot of people seem to think like, oh, general public wants better climate policy, and they do, but do they want sufficient climate policy? It often seems like no. I mean, we got tons of cars I could show you. I've done videos with just showing you cars that pass by in like a minute. Too many. And they're all internal combustion engines for the most part, like 99%. And so anyway, something that works on talks about how to develop this idea that we got to do better amongst people, amongst like regular folks, is what we need, because we need regular folks to jump into this fight and make risks and take risks, and they're not going to do it if they don't think there's no point. So that seems interesting. Leninology is the name of the author on Twitter, Richard Seymour, The Disenchanted Earth.